What in the Chris Brown and Rihanna is happening at the Olympics right now? What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. So at the Olympics, they have two genetic males competing against females in boxing. Now, if there's any sport that we can all agree that it's not fair if males compete against females, it is boxing. And this poor Italian boxer by the name of Angela Carini had to bow out after 46 seconds, saying that she had never been punched that hard in her life, which makes sense. You got punched by a dude. She was against this Algerian fighter by the name of Imane Khelif, I believe is the way that that's pronounced. And yeah, I can understand how you wouldn't be able to take it. She even refused to shake the hand of the man that had just punched her. Of course, you're a man and you hit me. That's not about sportsmanship. That's about the fact that this has not been fair. And if the Olympics is going to continue to do stuff like this, I don't care if you want to continue to do that if the female competitors are fully aware that they're going to be competing against males, but I want you to call it what it is, and that's a domestic dispute. This girl, Angela Carini, has learned why the dishes should be done when daddy gets home. And I hate to sound like I'm being silly about it, but at the same time, let's call a spade a spade. This should not be happening. So when you're trying to present this to me and the rest of the world as an Olympic sport, as an Olympic event, and really what's happening is you have women that are getting beat by men. And I don't mean beat in competition. I mean literally beat, because that's what's happening. When another Mexican female boxer had been interviewed after fighting the same guy, Imane Khelif, she also said she had never been punched that hard in her life. And this Italian boxer that just got defeated in the Olympics right now, she fell to her knees and broke down. She said it's unjust. And it really is not fair. I don't know why the Olympics is doing this other than the fact that, and I will say this, I know some people will get upset, the Olympics is a dying institution. And so they need to do anything they can do to keep people watching. That's why they're pulling all these stunts this year, is because everybody's over the Olympics. There's really no need for us to have the Olympics anymore or have it be such a huge focus, have it take over the TV for however many days, summer and winter Olympics, and it's really not necessary anymore. So even though they're still trying to push this and they're still getting a bunch of money and some people will still watch, it really doesn't need to be a thing. And the other day when I covered the situation about Christians being offended because of the opening ceremony, some people hit me up in the comments and were like, well, why don't you talk about the fact that Christians won't allow women to have the right to choose and don't believe women should have the right to choose? Well, because I don't really feel like the left is serious when they try to stand behind this and act like they really care about women. Because the left would be up in arms if they really cared about women when you have a woman being physically beat by a male competitor. And yeah, he is a male. I don't care if he's intersex. The fact of the matter is there are two, like I said, they're representing Taiwan, which they're describing in the Olympics as Chinese Taipei. The other one, Lin something, I can't remember the name. I don't care about the name. The name will never be anything to remember outside of this particular situation. Just like Imane Khelif is not a name you're ever going to have to know from anything other than the fact that he was walloping women in female boxing in the 2024 Olympics. These people will never be anything noteworthy outside of this particular controversy. So what I'm trying to get at is when you have these genetic males that have already been disqualified from other boxing competitions because of their DNA. Now, do you realize how serious of a thing this is? Because if it was a thing where you could say that they were doping at a particular point, so they were taking testosterone and then they got off the testosterone and now they met the requirements, that would be something different. It's like, okay, you were juicing, now you're not juicing, we can allow you to compete again. But when we're talking about DNA, which we all know your DNA does not change. If you have XY chromosomes, it's not one day going to turn into XX chromosomes. That's not the way that this works. All the Olympics would say was everyone competing in the women's category is complying with the competition eligibility rules. Mark Adams, the IOC's chief spokesman, said Thursday that the two fighters were not transgender athletes and should not be described as such. Mr. Adams has said both Khelif and Lin identify as females in their passports. So is that what we're going by? Is just what's in their passports? Because the IOC is being cagey about what specific testing they did to decide that these men were now qualified to fight against women. All I know is that somehow they found a way to and make it so these genetic males are competing against females. So what I was trying to say about the left coming after me and being like, why don't you mention women and their right to choose? Why don't you stand up for women when it comes to them getting beat by men in a ring and calling that a sport? Let's first handle these women not getting pummeled by men in Olympic competitions, and then let's revisit what you're trying to talk about. Until then, I do not care. If you're not at all concerned with a woman's physical safety, then don't come to me pretending that you care about a woman's right to choose. Because the right to choose is the only thing that you guys worry about when it comes to biological females. Because in situations like this is where you should step in and be like, okay, this is not fair. There's no reason that a genetic female should have to jump into the ring with a genetic male that's going to hit her harder than anybody's ever hit her before, possibly end her career. I don't blame her one single bit for deciding to call her after 46 seconds. People don't realize this could have ended her entire career over what? The fact that the Olympics want to be edgy and woke? The fact that the Olympics realize that nobody's really watching a lot of their events, so they got to pull stunts like this and put genetic females in actual physical danger? To me, like I said, this is a domestic situation. This is not something that should be televised on any level. This is two fighting to be some pimp's bottom bitch. Not only should this not be an Olympic competition, this should be the actual reason that everybody boycotts the Olympics, because you can debate whether or not that was the feast of the gods that was happening the other day, or they were mocking the Last Supper. That maybe people could debate, but when it comes to a genetic male physically fighting with a genetic female, that should never ever be happening, be televised, and be sanctioned by the Olympics. What the hell is going on in the world right now that anybody thinks that this is defensible, that anybody thinks that there's another side to this? And this poor woman, Angela Carini, that's the Italian female boxer that had to give up after 46 seconds, had a story about how she was fighting for her father. And these are what would regularly be the traditional stories of people having to overcome the obstacles to get Olympic gold. And I have to say, I don't even think it's about being woke at this point. I do not think that the Olympics are trying to be woke. I think the Olympics are gasping for any sort of relevance in modern day society, so they have to pull stunts like this, because otherwise there would be no reason to have two males competing against females in a sport like boxing. Anybody knows the difference between a man and a woman when you physically just bump into them. I have a female friend that's on the petite side, and one time I accidentally bumped into her. I literally had to grab her because I almost launched her, and I'm not even a big guy. So if you have two people that, yes, may be equally trained in the sport of boxing, but one person has a physical advantage that is as undeniable as male versus female, that's where you need to put your foot down and say, this is not going to work out. This is not going to be something that we should condone, let alone televise. So let me know what you think down below in the comments, but that's where I stand on this one. As always, I'm going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to leave a comment just to help me on the algorithm, but you don't know what to comment, just leave a knife, because you know some of these Olympic simps are going to come for my neck for saying that the Olympics are no longer relevant. Thanks for watching. As always, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.